Thank you, Acting Speaker. Thank you, Member. Thank you, Member for Central Webull, for catching that. I rise to support the Rail Safety National Law Application Amendment Rolling Stock Lighting Bill 2026. Commend the Leader of the National Party for such a balanced and comprehensive bill that's both practical and achievable. And to Lara Jensen for showing an unbelievable fortitude and strength to keep this front of mind, for have regional safety as her main driver, the safety of all regional Western Australians. I want to start by being clear about what this bill actually does, because I think it's been lost a little in the public conversation. This is not a bill about building new infrastructure at level crossings. It doesn't talk about asking for a single boom gate, a single flashing light, a flashing tower, a single dollar of taxpayers' money being spent on a crossing itself. What it asks is much narrower and much cheaper. That the train switches its own lights on, visibility down both flanks, visible from 200 metres out, and a rotating beacon on the front, visible from half a kilometre, running for the last kilometre of approach to every crossing. The obligation sits with the operator, not with the crossing. That distinction matters because it means this reform can happen fast, and it means the excuse of it's too expensive to fix every crossing in the state simply doesn't apply here. We are not fixing every crossing, we are making sure every train can be seen. That distinction matters enormously to the electorate I represent. Great Southern is grain country, and running through the middle of it is a working railway line hauling nothing but grain. One that winds its ways past the Stirling Ranges, past the Paronga Ups, and through the outlying settlements of Mount Barker, Cranbrook and Redmond as it makes its way down to the port. I want to be precise about that, because people sometimes assume that every train line still carries passengers. It doesn't. Every unit of rolling stock on that line is moving grain from the receival bins scattered across the Great Southern down to the export terminal at the Port of Albany. For about 10 to 11 months of the year, that line moves quietly through the background of daily life. Then harvest comes, and for a few short, intense months, everything changes at once. As the outlying bins along that line fill up, loaded trains down to Albany are more often, and those trains are at their heaviest and slowest to stop at all hours, day and night. At exactly the same time, those same roads and those same crossings are carrying a wall of harvest traffic that simply isn't there the rest of the year. Headers shifting between paddocks, utes, a steady stream of grain trucks, road trains, B-doubles, carting to the very same receival bins. A fair few of them contractors working long hours on roads they don't know anywhere as well as the locals do. So for a few months a year, it isn't just more trains on the line. It's those trains at their heaviest, running more often at the same time as the trucks that feed them are converging on the same crossings, often in the dark. And that's exactly the moment that this bill is built for. And here is the part members from the city might not fully picture. At a great many of those crossings have nothing on them at all. No boom gate, no bell, no flashing lights, no give way sign, sometimes a stop sign, and we rely on the driver's own eyes. That is completely normal for regional Western Australia. We heard from the member from Mid West that there is more than 490 crossings across the state like this, and a number of them are in my electorate. On farm access roads, gravel side roads, roads school buses use twice a day. For most of the year, these crossings feel safe simply because nothing much is happening on them. Then harvest arrives. The grain starts moving, and the roads that have been quiet for months suddenly are loaded with grain coming back through the dark. I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I know exactly why we lost a young mother at a level crossing near Redmond in my electorate just last year. That matter is still before the courts, and it would be wrong of me to draw a conclusion the evidence hasn't yet reached. What I can say is that it is happening on this line, in this community, and it shook people. It made a lot of people of the Great Southern, the families, ask a question that I think is entirely fair. Whether on a crossing with no gate, with no bell and no light, in the dark, in fog, or with the glare of the low sun coming up over the open paddocks, how much warning does a driver actually get that 4,000 tonnes of grain train is bearing down on them? Right now, at most of our crossings, the honest answer is not much. That's really the whole case for this bill. In plain terms, we are not waiting for a coroner to tell us what we already know. A large, heavy, near-silent object is hard to see against a paddock at dusk, and a small light strip and a rotating beacon make it dramatically easier to see, particularly at night. The research backs that up, and it doesn't take a scientist to work out that a lit-up train is safer than an unlit one. What it takes is Parliament actually deciding to require it. I don't say this as part to put fear into this House. I say it because I represent a community that lives with this rail line every single day. A community that crosses it on its way to school, to footy, to the sale yards, to town. For us, this isn't an abstract road safety statistic. It's the line at the end of our street. And I don't want to be the local member standing in this place in 5 years' time explaining to another Great Southern family why we didn't act when we had the chance. The evidence and a practical lead time to get this right. This bill is modest, it's practical, and it costs the taxpayer nothing. It asks rail operators to do something most of us would assume that they were already doing, making sure their trains can be seen before they reach a crossing. I'd ask every member of this House, regardless of which side of the chamber they sit on, to treat this as a simple safety measure it is and support it. I commend this bill to the House.
Thank you, Member.